But Owen didn't have that in his time. And so when he was growing up, and that was, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago. So he created something called Black Salt, which is pretty awesome. He created this character called Sam, who's a black MI6 kung fu. He's got a superpower I don't want to tell you too much about just yet, but he's like the man, you know? And he ends up taking on bad guys and, you know, saving the day. He's cool, super cool. And so he created all this in a graphic novel, and it did well. And then he created a short film, which won Best Short Film with Warner Brothers against 400 other short films. Like that's saying something. When you win Best Short at Warner Brothers, that's no joke right there. So Black Salt won Best Short. You can check it out. You can find it, download it. It had like 2 million downloads already. And then he decided, let's create a cell phone game, and that's where we kind of got to talking. I helped him promote the movie, but then we got to talking about the video game. He's like, you know, would you want to be involved? I was like, yeah. Are you kidding me? This would be awesome. And so he built me a character. I'm Austin in the game, and I've got no shirt on. I'm ripped. I have a red dragon tattoo down the arm. I use a 15-foot Chinese chain whip with a spear tip. And Sam's got his swords, and there's Destroy, and there's Gatling, and there's Dragunov, and there's Winry, and there's Horse Ripper. We have some great characters, and it's the world's, started out for cell phone, and now it's on Steam, and we're gonna be out on Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation by the end of the year. We beat out this year the new Tekken 7, we beat out the new Street Fighter. It's intense, and Owen and Jesse Wright, who's the guy behind like all the imagery. Jesse, JW Wright on Instagram, that guy, he's awesome. He's the guy that makes the game look the way that it does, along with some others, but like his vision with Owens, they did that. And so anyway, you should check out Black Salt Corruption. That's an awesome one that I'm working on. I sit on the board for something called I Heart Hope, which is a umbrella corporation for 7 charities. One of them is Valor for Veterans. They go out and find people that have been sold into the sex trade and bring them home. We have an autism spectrum charity in there called Autism Power. You can check them out. I sit on the board for that one too. We have Healthier Choices for Hungry Child. I sit on the board for that one also. And there's quite a few charities. We have an addiction, we have a homeless shelter in there. We have all sorts of things that we're doing in the world of charities at ihearthope.com. It's getting ready to go public now, but I've been working on these things for quite some time. Charities, I have a jewelry line, I'm working on a clothing line, building some other businesses, and stuff. Oh, I have an online store called austinstjohn.biz. I do all sorts of Ranger stuff, you can check that out. But I got a lot more, I just don't know how much you really want to hear. So I'm gonna slow down right there, because, you know. Anyway, next.
How long have you been in martial arts, and how many disciplines have you practiced over your life?
35 years, and I've been through probably 23 systems now. I kind of really quit counting. My life changed a lot. When I was younger, it was all about my black belt, or multiple black belts, or ranks, or, you know, making master level, or, you know, and there's a lot of pride, and there is a lot of hard work and discipline that goes into getting your first black belt. And there's even more that goes into making 3rd or 4th dan, depending on the system, and achieving master rank. So I take nothing away from that. But I've had a lot of hard lessons in my life, and I've come to understand there are many paths in the martial arts. You know, a lot of what we see now is UFC, MMA, and insane fighters, talented guys, most of them, and girls, most of them. But I'm more traditional in the sense that honor, integrity, and not that there aren't MMA and UFC fighters that have honor and integrity, but I hear a lot of the trash talking. I have no interest in that. That's not how I was trained, that's not how I was brought up. I have zero interest in, I'm gonna kick your butt, I'm gonna take you out, oh, you know, and then names all over the place, I'm gonna destroy you. I don't do hype. You know, you want hype, check out Mike Tyson. You want hype, check out WWF. I don't, in my mind, think that hype belongs in the world of the martial arts. I understand why it's there. And I respect the talent of some people who do it, and the skill of some people who do it. It's just not what I want to do. So a long time ago, I kind of, especially after my time overseas, I began to realize, yeah, I can do all these forms and these katas, and I can do weapon work, and I can do all this stuff, but if you come to jump me and my family on the street, I'm gonna go, hold on. Did you know that I've got 23 systems, I've got a second Dan, first Dan, I've got all these Dans, I got Dans, I'm the Don of the Dons, you know? Like, hold on, let me bust out my black belt, you know? I'm not gonna bust out my kata to try and scare you out. I'm gonna explain to you, I don't wanna fight with you, but don't confuse that with the fact that I can. You know what I mean? That's what it needs to be. And I'm not gonna be in a gi on the street. Ladies, a lot of ladies, I mean, they dress very different than most men. Some have heels, dresses. So when I teach now, I get a lot of ladies, they'll come in and be like, well, what should I wear? I was like, wear what you wear to work. Because that's what you're gonna get mugged in when you step outside of work. And you need to know how to deal with that. Now, it doesn't mean you can't put on, some hot shorts underneath or whatever they call the workout shorts. It doesn't mean you gotta come in with your panties on. Cover your business up, but come in your dress and your heels. And how we train is how we perform. So we're gonna do a survival class. You need to understand how much heels are gonna mess up your world. You need to kick off the heels before this party gets started. Or if you get jumped, you kick them off as quick as you can. And don't necessarily throw them away because there's a weapon. Guys, picture a 6-inch heel in your eyeball, That's a bad day. Yeah. Or the jugular, she's got it. So, there's all sorts of methods. I train for practicality. I got away from all the fancy aerial stuff. And not that it's not amazing, and that it doesn't take skill and talent, because it does. But I'm not gonna do a 540 on the street, and I wouldn't have 20 years ago. When I can punch you 5 times in the same span, you're gonna flip through the air and try a 540. Or a spinning hook, or a jump spinning crescent. The average high school wrestler, if I'm throwing a kick at your face 1, 2, 3 times, by the 3rd time he's gonna have your timing down, pick the leg that's on the ground, and now you're on the ground. So everybody's kind of become hybrid and mixed, and that's really my take on martial arts. I have all the respect in the world for people who spend their whole lives in a system, or 2, or even 3. All the respect in the world, that takes dedication. But I treat martial arts kind of like a toolbox, like a mechanic. You're a tall guy, you're a shorter guy, I'm an in-between guy. She's a tinier girl, there might be a bigger girl, or a shorter, taller girl. There are gonna be different things that work better for each of us within our framework. And if I have a toolbox that's only made for Volkswagen, well, what am I gonna do when I get into a fight with a Mack truck, or a Ferrari, or a Jetta, or whatever else? I need to have the tools with which to change. All right, this is a big guy. Now, rather than trying to overpower him, I'm gonna work center of gravity. I'm gonna take his mass out from underneath him. I'm gonna get him off balance, which is gonna help take away some of his strength and allow me to dominate. Oh, this guy's my size, and he's lean, which means he's gonna be fast. He's probably flexible. So maybe I'm gonna keep him outside, or maybe I'm gonna close the gap and tie him up. So am I gonna use a wrench, a hammer, a sledgehammer, screwdriver, flathead, Phillips head? I need to have the tools. So that's how I treat martial arts, and that's how I teach it. I do master's classes usually once a year at minimum, and I do it out of Shane Lear's dojo in Ohio, Lima, Ohio. He teaches Genuine Kempo Kwan Fa style. I usually will blend things like Kenpo and whatever comes to mind out of different systems depending on who I'm engaging with. And I'll add or give or take away or counter whatever it is people come to me looking to find. And we've got guys in there, Grandmaster Cooper, 10th Dan, Master Lear, 9th Dan. He just did a 100-man fight. 100 men, 1 minute each, no break. Y'all have any idea what that takes? That's intense. That's way intense. So anyway, we've got 3rd Dans, 5th Dans, 1st Dans. We got all kinds of Dans if that's what you want. But I show up in street gear. And I've got belts. In fact, I walk into a lot of dojos and they're like, hey man, we know your background, we know what you're there for. Maybe some of them want to test me and they're like, and when they do, they're like, hey, we'd love to belt you in our system. You just have to learn our katas so that you can teach, and combos, so you can teach our material. But you have the background, you've earned it. and I won't take them. I don't take any of them anymore because I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in doing is learning. It's the knowledge. It's me learning and me sharing that knowledge. So that's where I focus in the martial arts right now. And I do it that way because it forces me not to focus on myself. And that for me is one of the ultimate acts of humility, which is why I respect the hell out of school teachers so much. Underpaid, work to the bone, and they are literally building the next generation of every country, in every language, in every religion, in every culture. And yet there's less and less of them every year because nobody's getting paid. So that's kind of my take on the arts.
I have a follow-up to that, I guess. I don't think this is on yet, so I'm just
It's
gonna
on.
bother.
It's on.
Is it?
So you gotta get it.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, there it is. So sort of a follow-up to that, because you're such an accomplished martial artist, have you ever had to deal with, especially on screen, people who only do stage combat? And if so, how does that translate, and how do you cope with that?
Well, I mean, when we're doing it for camera, it's actually easier. It's a little more complicated to take someone who is just a street martial artist and do something with them on camera. The same, I had to be educated when I came on camera for the first time because, you know, for instance, when throwing an in-out crescent kick, or when throwing an axe kick, the axe kick, you bring down the heel as your contact point. Well, they were telling me, no, we don't want you to do that. We want you to point your foot, point it out. I was like, well, that's how you break your foot. They're like, you're not kicking anything for real, and it looks better on camera. When you do a crescent kick, instead of heel first, which is your contact point, we want you to point your foot. I was like, this isn't ballet. And they're like, it's TV, and it makes the kick look bigger. Do it. So I had to get re-educated on what really worked for the camera. They didn't want formal, traditional Chongdukwan Taekwondo kicks. They wanted their own version, and the stunt guys all taught me. And not that they weren't incredible street martial artists, but they had the TV education, I did not. So it's kind of a different animal. Now, when you get into theater, this is where you're talking to like Jason Narvi. The guy's got a PhD. He teaches theater in Cincinnati, I think it is. The guy's incredible. He'll break out a rapier and, you know, do all kinds of cool stuff. So there's something to learn from everybody, whether they're a martial artist, have a black belt or not. And that's kind of the mindset I go into all of these training sessions with is, what can I learn from this guy? And maybe I can share something in return. You know what I mean?
Great. Oh, you had a question right back there?
Yeah. What is your advice in building confidence in life and in martial arts? Not 38 still struggle with confidence. I noticed it's starting to struggle a little bit in the offense route.
Confidence. I am confident that there is far more I know nothing about than things I do. That is about the only thing I am 100% confident in. So when it comes to struggling with confidence, I would say, welcome to the world of manhood, brother. Welcome to the world of womanhood. Confidence is, that's like people who tell you, you know, how do you deal with fear? You know, are you afraid? There are two kinds of people who would tell you they're not afraid. Flat out liars and people who are certifiably insane. Because fear is a part of life, right? It's whether you let it keep you from doing what you want to do or what you know is right, that fear becomes a problem, i.e. confidence. I've made far more mistakes than I've probably made in successes in my career and in my personal life. And I'm not done yet. But I am semi-confident, mostly confident, that no matter what mistakes I make, I'm gonna keep getting up and coming back, and I'm gonna do my best not to make the same mistake again. So I guess I would say I am confident I will never stop trying. So when it comes to confidence, deal with it much like fear. It's being a little insecure, that's being human. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my, I mean, they're all insecure. One bear looks at another bear, there's gotta be that fleeting moment of, he's bigger, I wonder. Doesn't mean you can't do it, it just means, what are you gonna do about it? So how to build confidence? Pick things, one or two things that you know that you're really good at, and then make them perfect. Not even better, make them perfect. And then add something else. And work on that until it's perfect. And just work your way through lists like that. And what you'll begin to understand is when you put your mind to something and you focus on it, you can truly accomplish some really cool stuff. The other thing I would say is you may be afraid to try new things, like everybody. Do it anyway. And don't be so worried about what people you don't know think. And if the people you do know give you a hard time about, you tried something and maybe it didn't go well, if they're giving you a hard time, I mean, other than like, punching the shoulder like, that was a great screw up. I mean, that's okay. But people who are really giving you a hard time about it, those are people you need to cut out of your life. Or draw the line in the sand and be like, you know what? Maybe we're friends, maybe we're lovers, maybe we're married, maybe we're buddies, whatever it is, here's the line. And as a part of this relationship, I demand respect. I can make mistakes, and that can be a disappointment. You can too. But if we're gonna be homies, or hubbies, or whatever, there has to be a certain level of respect for each of us, from each one of us, for it to be a healthy relationship. Do you see what I'm saying? So understand your worth, pick one thing at a time and make it perfect, and then add something else. Start there, and with time, you'll understand that you can do things exceptionally well, that you are worth respecting, and you'll find it easier to respect others and expect respect based on what you have done in return. And if you don't come to people all the time, like you see people who walk on stage or walk through the hallway like Jesus should be somewhere behind them. You know what I mean? Like a good 15 feet back waiting on me to come through the door. Like we've all seen people like that, right? How much of that is crap? About 99%, right? It's called compensation. So spend a little time allowing and helping and building others. And it's not just gonna build others, it's gonna teach you things. You're gonna learn from that. Spend time helping others. Pick a thing, make it perfect. And don't be afraid to fail. Never be afraid to fail. That's part of what makes you amazing, and it makes us all better. Right? There you go.
So I'm getting super emotional about that. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we need to all rally and make sure that he also gets paid additionally as a motivational speaker, because that was amazing.
No doubt, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome. I've been asked to do that stuff. I just haven't got to it yet, I guess.
You're already doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Other questions? Yeah.
You said you have a family now. Are your kids watching your own episodes now?
Yes. Yes.
Much to your chagrin, or?
Yeah, no, I'm okay with it. Like, so I've done maybe, the Power Rangers, 120 episodes. The Fox film and, some other stuff in the Ranger verse. And I've seen maybe 3 episodes of anything I've ever done. Again, I've never been one to go back, and I don't need to look at me on TV and be like, oh wow, I'm amazing. Or, oh wow, I suck. Neither one is productive for me. I do it, I do my best, and I move on. That's my thing. And I'm confident I either screwed it up and people are gonna let me know, or I did well and they're gonna let me know. So my kids, when they go to put it on, I'm like, you guys can do that, but take it upstairs. Because the only thing worse than me talking to my wife or someone on the main floor, we all hear me when I speak. I hear me when I speak. But to hear me while I'm speaking and then hear me speaking in another room really makes me crazy. I'm like, yeah, it's morphin' time. And I'll find myself falling into character with what's going on. It's gotta go, guys. Take it upstairs. Or put on Spider-Man. I don't care. So it's kind of comical. They enjoy it, and we have a good time with it. My little girl, who is all my babies. I have 3: Connor, Jackson, and Mackenzie, are the absolute lights of my life. But my little girl, she's my little girl. She's my girl, and I'm a really nice guy, but I'm also one hell of a daddy bear. And she's just little and petite, and she's 4, and I just, you know, I gush, obviously. So we'll be curling up in bed, and she'll be sleeping between my wife and I, and she's just now like, Daddy, it's dark. Can you turn on a light? I'm like, no, there's no lights. If we have some fear, let's deal with it. Let's say a prayer, let's talk to God. You can tell him what's on your mind, tell him what you're thankful for. You know, and usually it involves unicorns and hearts and rainbows and, you know, sunshine and fairies, which, you know, I love. But then we get to family and the dogs and mommy and daddy and, you know, stuff like that, which I love. And then she'll finish up and, you know, amen. And then she'll kind of look over me and she'll be like, Daddy, nobody can get us. I'm like, oh yeah? Why? She goes, we're the Power Rangers. I'm like, that's right, baby. Nobody can get us. They don't even want to come in this house.
That's gotta be true.
Yeah. She's the Pink Ranger. Mommy's the yellow. I'm the red. Jackson is green. It's his favorite color in life. And Connor is the Black Ranger. I forget who's blue, but it changes. And we are gonna kick butt. Nobody can get us. So we're good. Yeah.
Other questions?
You said you heard about comics before coming to the Comic-Con. So since you come to the Comic-Con, like, what was you thinking about it? Or what was you thinking before you came to the con? Have you changed your mind about it?
Well, so I was on the Kuwaiti-Iraqi border when I first heard about it. So my co-star, Walter Jones, who played Zach the Black Ranger, he calls me up. I'm on the Kuwaiti-Iraqi border. I actually had cell service. And we're talking. And, you know, he hears some banging and boom, boom in the background, and it wasn't a good day. And he's like, hey, bro, you should, he goes, what are you doing? And I told him where I was and what was going on. He's like, okay, well, maybe you should think about doing something different. I was like, yeah, I've had that thought, trust me. And I said, well, what are you doing? And he says, I'm doing these things called Comic-Cons. And I was like, is this a Boy George joke? Like, I was waiting for him to bust out in a Comic-Con with Chameleon, and it's probably older than most of you guys, but, you know, I was waiting on the Boy George joke. And he was like, no, dude, like, all of our fans, they grew up. I was like, no, they didn't.